Yo, what's up, everybody? Walking down the streets of the big town of Snoqualmie, Washington. We are headed over to, what's the name of this brew pub?
No Boat Brewing.
No Boat Brewing. We've gone down there a couple times. So anyway, by the way, here's Tom.
Yeah, let's do this. Let's get some beer.
So we're going to go down and get some beer. I'm going to get an IPA. What kind of beer are you going to get?
I don't know. We'll see what they got.
We're going to see what they got. So anyway, all right. Let's take a gander at where we're going.
There you go.
I'll tell you about the first time I ever met Jim Rohn. So I'd been writing for him for probably 8 months. I've been writing the Jim Rohn 1-year program, which was a 1-year personal development program built on his principles and philosophies and all that. And it was June. It must have been June of 2003. And he was speaking in Houston, so the president of his company and I, we flew down there and saw his seminar. And the way that he does seminars, and a lot of these guys do them, is they send a guy in for like 3 months, and all they do is call insurance companies, car dealerships, and they go in, they do a 30-minute thing, and then they sell tickets.
Yeah.
And then Jim, or whoever the big star of the show is, flies in, does a 1 or 2 day seminar or whatever. So Jim was doing one at the Houston Astrodome, one of their convention center rooms. There's maybe 1,000 people there or something like that. Afterwards, Jim and I and the owner of Jim Rohn International, we went back to the hotel, and they had a little bar, little tiny bar. And we sat around and we talked, we drank beer, and it was one of those bars, because it was Houston, where you throw the peanut shells on the floor,
Right.
you know? Even though it was a hotel bar, you threw the peanut shells on the floor. So we drank beer, we ate peanuts, and we talked about the Bible. So Jim's dad was a minister till he was like 93 years old when he died. And so Jim grew up in this minister's home up in Idaho, and then left, and Jim gave a talk for the Rotary. I think it was the Rotary, Beverly Hills Rotary, when he lived there. Some guy liked it, and he said, or maybe he gave a speech somewhere, and somebody invited him to the Beverly Hills Rotary, and he called it Idaho Farm Boy Makes Good and Moves to Beverly Hills. So anyway, it got me to thinking about, all these guys, Tony Robbins, Zig Ziglar, Jim Rohn, all of them always talk about the Bible. In fact, if you ask a lot of these guys, what's the most powerful book or the most influential book or whatever, and myself included, you always put the Bible in there. And a lot of people say Think and Grow Rich. If it's not the Bible, it's Think and Grow Rich. Most people say Think and Grow Rich. But what's interesting to me is how the Bible ended up being like the premier book that self-help gurus talk about. And I think there's a misconception about the Bible. I mean, it's definitely a spiritual book. It's definitely the story of God and Jesus and redemption and all that. There is so much practical information in the Bible just for daily living. Just for, like, the whole book of Proverbs. That's all it is Proverbs. Time management, relationships, financial management, all that stuff. And written by Solomon. Most of it written by Solomon. And so it's funny to me because a lot of people say, I don't want to have anything to do with the Bible. And mainly because of certain parts of it that don't fit with whatever, lifestyle or philosophy or even religion. Religions even take the Bible. Islam and Judaism at least take Old Testament for portions of what they do. No, it's interesting because I think if people were to dig into it a little bit more, there's so much self-help stuff in the Bible. The idea being that God wants you to have a good life. I mean, you have to start with the idea that God wants you to have a good, fulfilling, joyful life. That's His purpose for us, right? Do bad things happen? Yeah, bad things happen in life. But there's also stuff in there about how to deal with when bad things happen. It's always been a big thing for me, obviously, and had been a minister and taught the principles of the Bible. But when I transitioned into the so-called quote-unquote self-help business, still so much of that stuff is just basic fundamental principles of living. So, what did he call this? Gutter hook?
Gutter something.
So I got myself a gutter hook. I think it's called Gutter Hook IPA. He says it's citrusy. It is a little bit citrusy, but wherever you are, maybe you're having a beer too. You know what we should do is we should have people comment below.
Yeah.
What part of Seattle? Because you know what? When I travel so much, every time I tell somebody I'm from Seattle, oh, my sister moved to Seattle. My uncle lives in Seattle. My best friend from college lives in Seattle.
Yeah.
Everybody knows somebody that lives in Seattle.
Yeah, for sure.